Good morning folks, 21st Century Caveman here. Hope everybody's safe, hope everybody's well. So today I'm going to show you how to make a brilliant fire pit or patio burner for £10 using some basic DIY tools. Now I purchased this galvanised incinerator bin from Aldi for £10, bought it a few weeks ago, it's been sitting in the man cave. So if you stay with me I'll show you how to easily transform this into a fantastic little patio burner with minimal effort. So the first thing we need to do then is to mark the position of the three legs. This will help us determine the best place to cut an opening in the bin. And the best place you'll find will be between the legs, where you can utilise the pre-existing holes. Now obviously you're going to need to mark out the area in question. Now I'm using a permanent marker and a straight edge. Now on the video clips you're looking at the moment, you'll see that I've put some tape on here, but on reflection it's not really necessary. I'm just leaving it in for transparency because that's what I did at the time. However, it is fair to say that if you put some tape on here, it will help to protect the metal when you're working on it. So here you can see I'm securing the bin to the worktop using a clamp just to keep it nice and steady while I cut into the material. So I've got my Tekpo out then, so this is basically very similar to a Dremel, and I'm actually setting up now with some cutting wheels in order that I can cut into the metal. Now you will notice that I'm actually taking my time cutting into this metal because these cutting wheels, they're surprisingly fragile and I'm trying to preserve them as much as possible, so I'm just taking it easy basically. Obviously make sure you wear appropriate PPE, make sure you wear gloves, goggles and a mask. So when you've done then, you should have a nice tidy opening like this. You will then need to cut the diagonals, and these will enable you to easily fold back the sharp edges which form the lip of this opening. And we can just see how easy the Tekpo cuts into the metal here, can't we? And you can make some very easy, tidy cuts. Now here you'll see me using a small block of wood to bend back the lip of the opening, and this works really well because it grips into the sharp metal of the opening, which reduces the likelihood of you cutting your hands because they slip, and also of course it prevents damage to the metal. Now if you've got a pair of grips, this will also enable you to bend the lip of the entrance back. Now here you'll notice in the clip that there are some cut marks where I'm going to bend over the lip, and the reason I did this was because I wasn't sure how easy it would be to bend the metal, and I thought if I almost sort of perforated it, it would enable it to bend back easier, which it does. But the fact is you can bend back the metal easily enough with a pair of grips and also a small block of wood without cutting into it. Now here's something else you don't want to do. Now I use these grips to flatten out the lip around the edges once I've bent them back in order to get them nice and flat. But you don't need to do that, and I'd highly recommend that you don't do that. And you know, whilst it's okay to bend the lip, the best way is not to crimp them flat. There's a much better way of doing it, and I'm going to show you that in a bit. And this is why you don't perforate the edges, because it just leaves sharp and tidy lips which require sanding, basically more unnecessary work. So I found then that the best way to finish the edges was to flatten down any large bulges carefully with a hammer or small block of wood, and then you can use a strong clamp to squeeze them flat. And in these clips now, I'm just going to show you how easy it actually is. And we can see that the plastic end caps on the clamp also prevent any damage to the metal and retain a very good finish indeed. So that just pulls the lip in nicely and leaves a really lovely edge, and it's also rounded off look, so it's not sharp. So it's nice and tidy, no sharp edges and no further work required. So the next stage then is to attach the legs using the nuts and bolts supplied, and you'll find that there are 2 nuts and bolts per leg. So all you need then is a small screwdriver and something like a pair of pliers just to hold the nut on the other side while you tighten it up. Okay, so we've done now. Please bear in mind though that the video clip you're looking at the moment is the Mark 1 version, where I cut out the opening and had to sand down the edges, rather than one where we use the clamps to fold the lips of the opening over. Job's a good one.